Hey guys, you are going to be taking some notes, so make sure you have a piece of paper or a notebook that you can write these in, and you're going to be taking some notes on equations. For equations, we like to make sure you know that you're going to use inverse operations, which I'm sure you've heard before. So for instance, the inverse of subtraction would be addition, the inverse of multiplication would be division, those kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is give you kind of three situations that you might see. And then at the end, I'm going to write down 5 problems that we want you to do on your own. And then you're going to bring into us once you're back at school. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this page and do the first example. So example number 1. It's going to look something like this. Let's say we have 2x minus 3 equals 13. So right now what we have is subtraction, the minus 3, and we also have multiplication, which a lot of people don't see because this 2 and the x are next to each other. That's actually multiplication. They're multiplying by each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is move this minus 3 to the other side of the equal sign. We're going to balance it out because ultimately I want to get that variable, that x value, all by itself on this left side. So a lot of times you'll see teachers, and you may have learned this from a teacher, is they kind of put a line down the middle so they know this is 2 separate sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the opposite or the inverse operation. So right now I have a minus 3, and in order to get rid of that, I'm going to do the inverse. And I'm going to do it on the left side of the equal sign, and I'm also going to do it over here. Anytime we use an inverse operation, helps us get rid of that number and put it to the other side. So right now, I was able to eliminate those 3's because I did the inverse operation. I'm going to bring down what I have left in red. So 2x, I have an equal sign, and then I have 13 plus 3, which is going to be 16. So we are now left with 2x equals 16. Remember, 2x is really multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication would be to divide by 2. And anytime you do your inverse, you are going to eliminate that number. So we got rid of that there, and now we just bring down what we have in red. So I have x and an equal sign, and then we do the operation. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So that's the first example. It's fairly simple. It doesn't get too much harder as far as two-step equations. Once we get into multi-step, it'll get a little bit more complicated. So let me clear this screen, and we're going to go back and we're going to go to example number 2. So this will look a little different, but still using inverse operations. So let's say I have x over 2 plus 5 equals 20. So now we have 2 operations here. We have an addition sign, so we have a plus 5, and we have an x divided by 2. So we're going to go ahead and do our inverse with the plus 5 first. Most of the time, except for this last example I show you, most of the time you're going to do your addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract 5 here. I'm going to subtract 5 here. And again, if you like to have this divide down the middle so you know there's 2 different sides, it's totally fine. So once I do my inverse, I eliminate what I need on the one side. And now I'm going to bring down what I have. So I have an x over 2 still. I have an equal sign. And then 20 minus 5 is 15. So now notice I have a divided by 2, and the inverse operation here would be to multiply by 2. So I'm going to do that on that side, and then I'm going to bring it over to the right side and do it here too. Again, we're just balancing it out. It's just moving something. And then I come back and I have my x still, and I have my equal sign, and 15 times 2 is 30. So that's example number 2 on how to do that. Remember, you can always go back and watch this video if you didn't understand it the first time. That's kind of what this video is for. So I'm going to clear this screen and do our last example, and then I'll write your 5 problems that you're going to work on. So for example 3, now this one's going to look completely different. So usually we add and subtract first, but this time around we're not going to, and you'll kind of see why here in 1 minute. If I have, let's say I have x plus 3, and the whole thing is going to be over 4, and I'm going to put equals 5. So usually we like to add or subtract first, like I said before, and I said the majority of the time that's what you'll do. Unfortunately, we have this division blocking us adding or subtracting first. We cannot, in the math inverse operation rules, subtract that 3 first. We need to get rid of this fraction bar first. And this is really one of the only instances you'll see where you do a multiplication or division first. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides. And remember, when you do that inverse, you get rid of what you're trying to get rid of. And then I just bring down my x plus 3, because that's what I'm left with. I'm also left with an equal sign. And then 5 times 4 is 20. So now here is where I'm going to do my addition or subtraction. I do it last this time. So I have a plus 3. I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. I'm kind of running out of room here on the bottom. So I'm going to move it over. I'm left with now an x, so I'm going to put that x over here. So I bring that x over, I still write the equal sign, and then 20 minus 3 is 17. So those are your 3 examples of things that you're probably going to see on a quiz or a test, or any in-class practice that we do. So the next thing I want you to do is on your piece of paper, and again, you're going to turn this into us once you get back. I want you to do these 5 practice problems. So here they are. We have 3x plus 7 equals 22. You are going to do x over 3 minus 6 equals 42. This one, we're going to put a negative here. So negative 2x minus 6 equals 18. So we'll see if you can divide by that negative, see how that goes. Then we're going to do x plus 5 all over 2 equals 30. And your final one will be x over 4 plus 5 equals 60. So even if you're a little bit confused, again, feel free to go back and look over the video that we made. But really the ideal piece here is just to try these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We just want you to try these out and see how you do, and then bring any questions in that you have once you get back. We will see you soon. Bye.